not everybody was a founder from day one, right? Not everybody comes here to the UAE and runs their own business straight away. They do that groundwork, they build the network, they win clients, they lose clients.
When I think about my journey as a founder, initially as a founder, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm just doing recruitment for myself. I'm not a perfect founder or a leader in the business. I've got faults. Some days I didn't want to be there.
What am I doing?
Yeah, I'm like, right, honestly, there's points where I was like, if I lose this person, my business is going to shut down. I think I've got that fear of losing everything. I'm never happy. When I hit a certain point, I'm like, right, what's next? What's next?
Forward momentum should never stop. As soon as it stops, you're probably dead, right? As a business.
Keep pushing. You can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
That I just want to succeed at anything I do, as most people will do.
Yeah. Welcome back to Well On Our Way, the podcast where we dive into founders' journeys on building a business here in Dubai and the impact it has on their health and well-being along the way. Today's guest is Calvin Lee-Pickett, the founder and CEO of Calvin James Recruitment. Enjoy the episode. Calvin, welcome to Well On Our Way.
Thank you.
We're going to dive straight in. Looking back, growing up, can you share a memory with me that you have that has shaped you into who you are as a person today?
That is a very, very deep question.
Start as we mean to go on.
There's probably a lot. There's probably one thing that came straight to mind, which is again very deep. Is my parents split up when I was very young, and my dad went one way and I went with my mum. So that, I feel, has directed me in a certain way of how I am as a person, negative and positive. But that is something that probably stands out the most.
And you say has shaped how you are as a person. What is that?
It's a good question. It's probably the way I deal with things is always to take it on the chin and move forward. Is the best way I can describe it, which again has been positive in one way.
Yep.
That resilience piece.
Yep.
And then negative in another way, with being able to kind of deal with my own kind of emotions rather than pushing them down. It's kind of been a difficult journey on wellness. Is probably going to come into this a bit more deeper, but I would say there's been a lot of pros and cons to the way that affected me, positive and negatively.
We're going to talk a little bit more about resilience today, I suspect, because obviously the whole purpose of this podcast is to dive into founders' journeys and the impact it's had on their well-being and their health, over the course of building a business. And, depending on the stage you're at, that could be, the business could be in growth mode. It could be in, the opposite. There's no straight line up when it comes to growing a business.
Certainly
It's, operates in cycles and you could argue that it's vicious cycles at time. And ultimately resilience is absolutely a common theme. Obviously, that's one thing that from an early age that kind of started to help you form that resilience. What else kind of growing up, going through school, you went to university, what else kind of shaped that and formed that resilience to get you where you are today?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that kind of were part of the growth journey through my life. My mum remarried. My dad, who's classed as my dad, he's my dad. He brought me up. He was in the army, so we moved around a lot in my younger years. So I was born up north. I was born in a place called Chester. At a very young age, I moved down to London. We spent time there, army camp in a place called Hounslow. He then moved across to Sandhurst, and then back up, and then we eventually settled in Liverpool, where I went to school and kind of became a man. That's where I grew up properly. And I think that moving around the country at an early age allowed me to, it's almost like starting again every time. Friendship circles and being able to be adaptable, new environments, not fitting in, all sorts of different things that you probably wouldn't have said if someone gave you a map of your life in that age. We went, nah, I'm not interested. But when you do it, you kind of pick up different skill sets along the way, which I think that's life, right? So that's how I'd describe it as a kind of journey. It would be that moving around at an early age did kind of set me up, and even it's probably why I found it so easy to settle in the UAE when I did. So
I think that's a pretty good segue. So obviously you've been here in Dubai or the UAE for how long now?
10 years.
10 years. Explain to me those early years, rewind, we've already gone back to your early years of childhood. Now let's rewind a little bit to the early stage of your time here in the UAE. What did that look like for you? I assume you didn't come here and build a business from day one.
No.
You came here and what was those first formative years of your UAE journey like?
I'd never been here before I moved. It was actually, I was chasing a girl who's now my wife, thankfully.
Oh, well done.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
So we were seeing each other at the time in the UK. She got a job at Emirates, and then she had to move here. I didn't realise she had to move.
Yep.
And it was kind of getting serious. So I was like, you know what? She didn't think I'd follow, but I was like, listen, I was at a company in the UK. I was based in Milton Keynes at the time, working for a big US firm, recruitment firm called Robert Half. They had an office here, which I found out. So then I just got the transfer over. I think they told me 12 months initially because they never like to lose people. They want to phase it out. But then I pushed it. 3 months I'm on the ground. I stayed in Emirates accommodation for the first month, which was in Al Nada, I think it was called, which was by the airport. So I was like, this is not what I thought Dubai was going to be. Yeah. It was the opposite of anything. Yeah. But then as we settled, I moved. I was working in the IFC, and she was in, obviously had to be in the airport quite a lot. So we moved to downtown, which was kind of like the good kind of middle ground location-wise. So then it started to feel like Dubai. And at first, when I went into I kind of forced the move through my company. They didn't really need anyone on that desk. Yeah. But kind of had a good reputation in the UK. I was building a good desk. And then when they moved me out, I went onto a desk, which was, I think there was about 8 really experienced recruiters on that desk. So pretty much all the good accounts were locked down. So I've come into this team and they're all top lads. I think of the 20 people in that office, I think 11 of us set up our own companies. Wow. So it was a really good team back then. Yeah. So I've come onto this desk and everybody's like literally in recruitment, you've got your accounts, they're yours until they fall out of cycle. So I'm literally waiting there for accounts to fall out of cycle, pick them up and pick new business up and just scrap them around just to prove myself. Yeah. And again, why I'm telling you that part of it is because that really set me up for setting up my company. I wasn't reliant on the company. Yeah. I had to just go and build relationships and keep my head above water in a really competitive desk. Yeah. So that initial just get over it, get my head down and just do more than what the other guys on the desk doing just to stand out was what I felt would really set me up for the future. The early, I'd say first 12 months was literally, I didn't enjoy Dubai. I was just like, head down, I need to survive. Yep. I was getting the training from Al Nada, which in the UK it's normal to get the train. But here it was just like, oh, you getting a metro? Like, what are you doing that for? Get a car. And I was like, oh, saving money. Yeah. I need to kind of find my way around first. So that didn't last long. And then I started getting taxis and things into the office and figuring out how to be an expat in this market. Yeah. So it was a bit of a blur, to be honest with you, but it was all about just doing a good job at what I was doing. Yeah. I wasn't worried about partying or going out at that stage. I still did that, but my focus was literally just establish myself in this office. So it was mainly focused on that more than anything else, really.
I think that probably links back to the resilience point, right? Yeah. In that, you came here and had your heads down, focused and, put the groundwork in. And I think whilst this podcast is all around founders and their journey, like, not everybody was a founder from day one, right? Not everybody comes here to the UAE and runs their own business straight away. They do that groundwork. They build the network. They win clients. They lose clients. They make friends. Those friends move back to their home countries or whatever. Yeah. You have to come here and build that base. And I think, it's nowadays, 10 years later, I think we moved here around the same time. Like, Dubai is unbelievably even more glamorous than it even was back then, and people have a misconception that you can come here and it's easy, and it really isn't. To build that base, I'd argue now it's probably even harder. I'm glad I came here 10 years ago and I didn't come here now and starting now, because I think it'd be even more competitive and more difficult now. So I think building that base is so important, and like you say, heads down, focus, work hard, put the hours in. That's what it really is all about, and that's a successful foundation for any business and any founder. But again, it comes back down to that resilience. Like, how do you get yourself up and motivate yourself every day? Like you say, feeding on scraps, particularly in a very competitive industry like recruitment as well. So how did you find that motivation? Like, in the days where you didn't have the accounts yet and you weren't established, like where did that come from?
It was just a drive just to make something of myself, really, and then a decent living and prove that I can do it. There was a lot of that, which probably goes back to the younger years. I've always trying to prove myself. So it is purely just, it's almost like it's inbuilt that I just want to succeed at anything I do, as most people will do.
Yeah.
But I think probably, again, going back to the upbringing, it's, there's a lot of knocks you get along the way. But what I kind of was taught by my dad and my family, it was, you just keep moving forward. So I think it was just instilled in me at an earlier age. I don't really know the answer to why, but it's something that's just there, which is a little bit to my detriment, which my wife has been talking to me about actually, is I'm never happy. When I hit a certain point, I'm like, right, what's next? What's next? And again, I've just had a bit of a retreat with my team as well, we're very openly, we're talking about how it was just a really great leadership session. For someone you might know, actually, you do know him actually, is Sam Harvey, great guy. He talked us through where, the vision of where we want to be and all this sort of stuff. And then the team opened up to me on how I can be a better manager and then vice versa. Yeah. And it came out as quite blunt in certain situations and insensitive, because I'm like, right, we've hit that. Where's the next one? Where's the next one? Yeah. So that self-realization of actually, great, it's good for keeping me moving forward, but it's holding back in other areas. Yeah. Which is a big point, which I was kind of aware of it, because my wife tells me I drive her mad. Yeah. Because they're like, she's just like, relax, just enjoy the moment. Yeah. Which again,
be satisfied.
I think I've got that fear of losing everything. Which that could be the reason why it keeps pushing me to that next one. Don't settle, keep moving forward. And I'm in that mindset of, if I'm comfortable, that means I'm going backwards. Yeah. And she says I'm crazy for thinking that way, but it's just, it's something I'm going through a journey myself. Yeah. Because again, I've never run a business before. I don't know what the answers are. I just do it on the job. Yeah. Deal with the situation. Okay, let's try that. If it doesn't work, great, we'll go that way. Yeah. So I've not really had loads of experience of running a business. So that's why, again, I'm just like, okay, that's one. Let's keep moving. But yeah, it's a difficult one to kind of put a finger on why I'm like that. But it's just...
Yeah, I think running a business is an interesting mix of resilience, intuition, and like you say, that forward momentum, regardless of the setbacks or the victories that happen, you have to keep moving forward. And I think I am very much guilty as well of, achieving things and already on to the next thing before even that the achievement is complete, let alone the celebration of said achievement. And that's also something I'm very bad at, is just not taking the time to be satisfied. I think it's almost like an unquenchable thirst of progress. I think more than success, actually. It's not actually success that drives me per se. It's just, how do I keep progressing? How do I keep building things and learning things and moving forward? And I think, because like you say, that forward momentum should never stop. As soon as it stops, you're probably dead, right? As a business, it's just keep going, keep moving. But over time, I have gotten much better at, like you say, stopping, appreciating, being satisfied for a moment, and then going. Just being able to pause for a moment. I think it's very hard. It's very hard.
I think you still want to keep that fire and drive, but I think it's the balance it's the key. It really is the balance and finding it. Because sometimes, like, you sound similar to the mindset to how I am, is you're used to being tired, pushing the boundaries, but it's not sustainable. No, it really isn't. But anyway.
So let's talk about that for a little bit. For those that have listened to any of the previous episodes of Well On Our Way, they will know that I'm very, very big into sleep. I have come full circle on this particular topic where, like you said, I used to push the boundaries of energy management, shall we say, to the absolute limit. Maybe sleep 4 hours a night, 5 hours if I'm lucky. Absolutely not prioritize sleep. Again, as I've gotten older, as kids have entered the equation, particularly, they are the key difference maker in this equation. But as I've gotten older, as the business has grown, kids, etc., sleep has become probably the number one tool in my toolbox when it comes to performance. And every founder, every entrepreneur, every CEO has to really think like an athlete when it comes to performance, in that they can't keep performing at the highest of levels without recovering. How do you treat recovery? How do you prioritize sleep? And if you don't, why is that the case?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's not been a priority for me. For instance, my working week right now, it's event season, and there's lots of networking things going on, trade shows. So my days of this time of year are just really extended. So up at 4:30 this morning, I've got a webinar, finishes at 8 p.m. tonight, with a working day in between. Like today, we've done 3 events.
Yep.
So I'm conscious of it, and I know it's affecting my performance. So I'm trying to work on ways, just simple things like the weekends, don't touch my phone, work-wise.
Yep.
But again, I don't know how you correlated kids to sleep. I don't know how you did that, because it's the opposite for me a lot of time. But I've got 2 young kids, 5 and 3.
Yeah.
And no matter what time they go to bed, they're up at 5 or they're in our bed, whatever. So it's quite hard at the moment for me to kind of build a routine with sleep, but it's something I'm very conscious of.
Yeah.
Again, I've been listening to a book recently. Don't read books anymore, I listen to them. I don't know if you'll do the same.
Yep.
Called the 5 a.m. Club. I don't know if you've had that one, but since I've been listening to that, it's kind of really opened my eyes to how much of the balance needs to come in to increase your performance. You can't just run yourself into the ground.
No.
So like in my head now, I was saying to my wife not too long ago, I'm just going to give it till the end of the year and then I'll find more balance. But actually I need to do it now.
Yep.
So it's something I'm actually trying to navigate right now is that balance. So what I've done at the moment is I've incorporated 2 work from home days into my week to split up the week, which I'm going to increase to 3, which has been a bit of a game changer, to be honest with you, immediately. Because I know those days I've got the comfort of just taking my time to get ready for the day and all this sort of stuff. I'm not meeting anyone. It's all online. I do my webinars and my coaching online those days. So it's a work in progress right now, but I'm very aware of how important that is. And that's what I'm trying to work on. So maybe you can give me some tips on that.
Yeah, I think the problem is for most people is that they have a degree of awareness of the importance of sleep and recovery and the input-output equation. I wouldn't necessarily call it a balance personally. I think there's been a lot of discussion around this, particularly when it comes to work-life. There has been a trend over the last few years of not referring to it as a balance, because it's not one or the other. Like work and life now for a lot of people are the same, right? Particularly at home, for those people that work at home. But as far as an equation goes, it's you can only get out what you put in anything in life, really. None more so than your own body and your own mind, right? So if you're constantly trying to get out, but you're not putting the right things in, whether that's sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement, your mental health, if those things aren't taken care of, all of the things, not one of the thing, all of the things, then what do you expect? I think that for me is always a question, like, what do you expect to achieve if you are not optimizing for performance, not existence, right? We can all exist on 4 hours sleep. I existed for many, many years on 4 hours sleep. I thought I was at the, in a peak performance state. And I look back and think, oh my goodness me, I was so wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong. Like my attitude to sleep was just fundamentally incorrect. But I said it so much and so loud that I believed my own
it was
hype.
Glorified, I think.
Yeah. And I think it was a generational thing. For sure. But But, really now for me, it's concentrating on the equation, not the balance, but the equation. Like, how do I make sure I'm optimizing as often as I can to get the best level of performance?
It's a really good way to put
and
it,
also avoid illness, right? If I'm not sleeping, if I'm not eating right, if I'm not exercising, I'm going to get sick because I'm maximizing my output as on a daily basis. And if you keep doing that, you will hit a wall. And the number of founders that I've spoken to, whether it's on this podcast or just in general, who have burnt themselves out, who have had a breakdown, who have gotten divorced, who've gained weight, lost weight, gone through the whole kind of health, challenge, all of the health challenges, physical and mental. Oftentimes it comes down to the fact that they just avoided the basics. They didn't sleep enough. They didn't eat well enough or often enough. They didn't drink enough water and they didn't move. And again, if you optimize that equation, you've given yourself a better chance. And, obviously this is the business that we're in. This is obviously my passion, and it's way easier said than done. Way easier. And I'm the biggest advocate and the biggest hypocrite because I burnt myself out, which is how I learned my lesson the hard way and ended up starting Level. So it's significantly easier said than done. But I think one of the things you almost have to sacrifice, certainly in the earlier days of building a business, is sleep, because you want to get a competitive edge, right? You want to build that advantage. You want to get ahead of others around you. And like you say, you also want to survive. It's not enabled if you're sleeping 10 hours a day and, having daily beach strolls or, do you know what I mean? Like, it just that those opportunities are not afforded to founders or entrepreneurs in certainly the early days, if not ever. I still don't have any beach strolls, by the way, and I also don't sleep 10 or 12 hours a night.
Yeah.
And the correlation to kids was actually a negative correlation because, my goodness, they are the number one sleep disruptor, of course. So I think it's really about how do you have that awareness. I think is really important step and a good step one. But I would challenge you to say, you said, you give it to the end of the year, then you'll start. No, you won't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't start now, you never will.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pushing it down the road.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're right. And it's something that it definitely, from my experience in running a company, you can never plan too far ahead either.
Yeah.
So even with things like your health, because you don't know what's going to happen at that point. No. So you'll have to give me this equation. I want to see this equation.
I'm trying to think, great idea. It's a work in progress. As soon as I figure it out, I'll sell the algorithm. Talking about wellness and health, obviously, you've built a business. When did you start Calvin James?
2018. I was 6 years old.
6 years old.
Going into the 7th year. Yeah.
So you were at Robert Half before, and then you left there and started your own thing. Was it straight away?
Yeah.
And so talk me through that kind of journey of building the business. You obviously started on your own. You've gone from working for one of the biggest recruitment businesses in the world to starting your own thing, going from being paid a salary or at least a small salary plus commission, a little bit of stability, shall we say, to all of the risk, all of the responsibility on your shoulders.
Yeah.
How have you then how have you made that transition?
Yeah, I'm not reinventing the wheel. So it didn't feel like a massive risk. Mm-hmm. What I found out very quickly when I landed in the UAE and started working at Robert Half in covering the UAE market was it's very relationship driven. Yep. Expat market. I'd never been in here before. And first was candidates wanted to speak to me. So I was like, wow, actually I can get anyone on the phone. And actually a lot of these candidates are actually decision makers. In the UK, it was so hard to get up to a CFO or a decision maker for a business. Because not only was Robert Half structured in a way that it's dissected so much that I could only place literally up to £10 an hour candidates on a temporary contract.
Okay.
Anyone that came in that's qualified, I had to pass someone else. Landed in Dubai and I'm picking up CFO roles and I'm like, who do I pass this to? Oh, you work it. Mm-hmm. Like, amazing. So what's the fee on that? I was like, wow, okay. The whole dynamics of that changed, first of all, because I realised that the UK market, I'd never even considered in the UK, was completely dissected. So Robert Half had a coverage in every single city. Whereas here, it was a region. One office, 20 people covering the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Same with Michael Page, Rob Walters, Hayes. So I was thinking, actually, even if I just picked up good 10 clients, which is loads of space for it.
Mm.
I could do something here. So I started thinking about it very early on.
Yep.
Got promoted quite quickly in the first 2 years, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up managing the full finance and accounting regional division of Robert Half. So the reason I said 2016 before, because that's when I started thinking about
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna manage it. I'm gonna work out how to manage a team, how to hire, how to just manage a desk of a team, and then I want to get it going before Expo 2020. So yeah, just built up a decent amount of savings that was going to last me 12 months. Because at that point I was either like, do I buy a house or do I set up the company? Thought, let's just go with the company because then I can do that in the future. Anyway, got that together, and then I think it was October. I waited till I got paid. I actually went into the office. I've got a meeting down in DIFC, so I went down to Caribou Coffee and sat there until I got paid. When I got paid, I texted my manager and went, listen, I need to chat to you in the office. Went in and resigned at that point. Yeah. So I was just skeptical about not getting paid, my final commissions and all that. So from that point out, I just realised that, if people were coming back to me rather than the company. So it was like I said, I'm not reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
Let me go out. I've got enough, even if I don't do a single deal, to last me a year, and then I can go and work for anyone again. It doesn't matter. So that was the first initial plan. Got set up the company, but I thought I don't need my visa yet. So I set up a month before I left in Sharjah, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then resigned. 2 weeks after that, found out my wife was pregnant. I was like, oh, great. Amazing, super happy, but we weren't planning it. Yeah. So she was Emirates cabin crew. She had to be grounded, so no salary, nothing. They paid for the coverage of the birth, etc. But it was like, right, things are real now. Now it feels like a risk. Yeah. But before it didn't. Yeah. So it just kind of really got. Again, I wouldn't have planned it that way, but I'm glad it did happen that way because it just did it all in one. We would never been a right time to have a baby. Yeah. It never is. Yeah. So. I resigned, obviously found out we had a baby, great, and then no one's earning now, so I need to make this work quick. So a lot happened in that time. Yeah. And then when I went to get my visa, Sharjah banned or put a hold on all visas, so I couldn't get a visa, so I had to pay for another company to set me up in Fujairah, so that happened as well. So I was like, wow, this is a bit more difficult than I thought it would be. And then I think it was November, I did my first deal in December. Had my first dropout in December, which was the same deal.
Oh, no.
Then I placed him again somewhere else. He's still at that company now, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then it just got my head. I remember having a meeting with, because the week I resigned, just randomly, the global director of Robert Half was in our office. So I've never spoken to the guy, and he's like, I want to have a meeting with this guy who's leaving. And he starts grilling me on who you're going to call on the client side, kind of give me a little bit of a threatening grilling, but also said, oh, the door's open if you want to come back. If you've scratched your entrepreneurial itch, you can always, there's another space for you. But then, that was fine. And again, he acted like he was my friend. And then we went to, I think it was like drinks after it because he was going, never shook my hand. So I kind of knew what he was about at that point. But anyway, so to get back to where I was at, so again, it's just like, right, head down, back in startup mode. We'll keep our overheads as low as possible as a family now. I just need to do some deals. Yeah. So just literally went through the motions. I ended up working with clients I'd never get to work with in Robert Half because they wouldn't sign the terms. And it was a bit of a scary first 6 months because what I didn't factor in as well was once you do a deal in recruitment, you've got to wait for the payment terms. No one pays on time. So you got that lead time.
I don't think that's just recruitment, but
I think it's everything. Yeah. So we had like this first 6 months of not getting any money in, but of doing deals. And then once I started getting money paid in, I was like, wow, okay, this is great. So then I hadn't planned to grow the team or anything at this point. It was just a case of let's just get through the first year and see where we are. Me with a laptop, a phone, see where we go. Obviously, the name of the company, Calvin James, is just my first name and middle name. Right. I didn't think too long about that one. It was just let's get out there and do it. Yeah. But we did really well in that first year. And I was like, wow, I can actually, what do I do now? Like, I can grow this team. So at that point, before we'd set up, we'd just moved to a villa in Mira, if you know Mira a bit inland. Because we found out the baby was coming, we needed more space. So the guy that rented me my villa at that point was my first hire. Because I said,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
you'd be good at recruitment. Let's talk again in 12 months if you're open to it, whatever. And he became my first hire.
Oh, wow.
So I trained him up from real estate,
Yeah,
a lot of the same transferable skill set.
Yeah.
So I trained him up, and he became my top biller for the last 4 years.
Wow.
Because again, you can't teach the mindset.
No. Yeah.
And that resilience, and real estate is very difficult. And he was making a good living, and he just wanted a bit more of a, I don't want to say balance, but the equation.
Structure.
Of,
Structure,
of having his weekends. And,
Yeah.
you know, he was an ambitious guy. So I was like, wow, okay, this hiring for my own team and training was really easy. It was far from that, but I felt like I was a little bit lucky at that time to get that guy in at that time. And then I did find it hard to get good people in after that, because again, I didn't have a brand. I had nothing, just promises, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that and this. So the first year was a lot of ups and downs, but really exciting. And we started making money. So I was like, wow, it's actually working. Again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just going to focus on doing a good job, working harder than competition, and just doing what I say I'm going to do consistently. That was it. That's all I did. And we're still here. We've grown, we've dropped numbers, we've grown numbers. And it's been a journey the whole way, which we'll probably talk about more in a minute. But yeah, that was the first year, what it was like for me.
You mentioned there in the first year, one of the key points I picked out was that you simply worked harder than the competition. I think particularly in the recruitment industry and real estate, as you mentioned, like that really is what it boils down to is how much you can put in and what the quality of that input can be over a long period of time. And I believe, you know, you said that the first 6 months was, a lot of it was unexpected, a lot of it was unplanned. I don't know a single entrepreneur who has executed their plan as intended. Or most don't even have really much of a plan to begin with. They just know, like you said, they have an itch, or they have this idea or this passion that they want to pursue, and they figure it out along the way. And I think that's probably the fuel that drives most entrepreneurs is, I'm just going to figure this out. I'm going to use my skills and experience and savings and connections and resilience and everything I've got just to keep moving forward. And I think, you know, you said, it was lucky that you made this first hire. It wasn't lucky. It was, you kind of put yourself in that position when that was even a conversation in the first place. Because had you not have started the business, you wouldn't have been able to say to him, you should come and work for me, or you should work in recruitment. You probably never would have had that conversation. So, you know, I think that, you know, a lot of times you are reliant on luck or fortunate events happening, but most of the time you're creating those fortunate events by all of that groundwork that you put in. When you decided to start the business, your wife, you were then married.
Yeah, we were married then, actually. 2016, we got married,
Yeah.
I should know that.
What was... we'll edit that bit out.
Take that out, please.
What was your wife's take on you starting a business and venturing out on your own path? Because I think one of the things we have spoken about with other guests is that emotional support that you get from your spouses, husbands, wives, or whatever, partners, whatever it might be. But also on the flip side is then the pressure that comes with it, because oftentimes you're then taking a risk on behalf of a family, not just yourself. When I started my first business, for example, I was 21 or 22. 21, still just finishing university, so still at university. I had nothing to lose. I had no responsibilities at all. Whereas, you know, today, fast forward a few years, you know, wife, 2 kids, school fees, etc., like, that's a lot more responsibility. So you carry a lot more weight. How was that on your side? What was that kind of feeling?
Well, my wife, Sheila, she was the main reason I set up. She'd been pushing me for years to do it. I was like, I'm not quite right. You know, I'm very much I want it to be the right moment a lot of the time. Okay, let's just wait. Let me do this. Like, she pushed me. And I remember I was like, right, I'm just going to do it. I think I only decided I was going to do it literally maybe 2 or 3 months before I did it. And I think I flew out. It was 2018, so I think I went to the Champions League final in Kiev. And then came back, and I went to the World Cup in Russia that year.
Nice.
Which was nice. And then we went to Italy, which probably the reason why the baby's here. So,
too many limoncellos, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I was drinking back then, which I don't do anymore. But yeah, so that support from her was like, you can't put a value on it. She really pushed me. She could see the potential, and she's very business minded as well. I was almost like a corporate robot back then. So I was like, these are training me, this is how you do it, this is what you're doing. I had that. I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, even going back to my younger age and things. But I just wanted to make it in the corporate world. But anyway, she pushed me into it. So we decided, and then that was the last time I had a holiday, which were those trips.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
So we could actually relax on those holidays, which was amazing. Whereas before, it was always like, I got my boss on the phone. I went on our honeymoon. I was in South America on the salt flats, and I was getting calls. Like, he knew what time I was awake. I was getting messages, the time difference. What's going on with this deal? What's going on with that?
Yeah.
And even though I was like on the other side of the world, having in the best place ever, I was always like, it's in my head. Yeah. So, which again, I've kind of taken with me a little bit since setting up my own business, because that fear of failure, I'm always got to be on it. Yeah. But it has had a detrimental effect on my own wellness and well-being as well. Yeah. So, but my wife is always super in tune with me, how I am, and she's always pushing. So she's been the most, I don't know, I couldn't have done it without her. 100%. I'm not just saying that. I could not have done it without her. Yeah. She pushed me to do it, which is the main thing. And then she supported me with having the kids on her own, 2 kids here, no family support. Yeah. Not trying to say it's an absolute blessing, but she's had it tough. Yeah. I could not do her job. Looking after them kids, bringing them up. I couldn't do it the way she's done it. And she's just amazing. So without her, I don't even know if I would have done it. So she's the main driver of everything, really. Yeah. And obviously, you say you have 2 kids? Yeah. No. Aurelia and Olivia. A shout out to them. Of course. The most important part of the podcast, without question. Again, they change things, right? They change your mindset. They change your... you mentioned that you're out early doors, you're at different events, but all of a sudden you have a bigger and better reason to actually be home. And I think the pandemic taught us a lot of lessons that you can do a lot from home, and you can be more present and more involved as a parent. And I agree, my wife, she's a full-time mum, and I don't know how she does it. But I would love to have more time at home with the kids, and that's the sacrifice. And I think, again, in building a business, you're often sacrificing things, whether it's your time, your health, your money, experiences with your kids, or time with your kids, and that all adds up. And I think that's something that people don't often see or appreciate quite enough. And I know that everybody makes similar sacrifices, but whether you work for a corporate, small business, big enterprise, or if you're a founder, but for founders particularly, like you say, you are never off, right? Whether it's your honeymoon, whether it's reading bedtime stories to your kids, whatever it might be, there's always someone somewhere looking for answers or looking for you to solve problems. So, and I think that when you bring kids into the equation, it gives you a really good reason to kind of reevaluate and start to spend a little bit more time, if not switching off, distracting yourself from the pressures and the responsibilities of the business. Yeah, and the time you won't get back is what I've been through some dark times with my family and situations because of work, basically. Yeah. And then when you kind of reevaluate and you actually, the only reason I'm working is for my family. So it's taking me away from my family. What's the point? Yeah. And I've had moments like that where I've literally been rock bottom. Yeah. I'm like, okay, trying to evaluate, but then I'm supporting the team and I need to make sure they get what they want from it. But then my family, they're just waiting for me to come home. It's hard to balance that as in your mental. And that for me, that was the hardest part about running our own business, is that part. And that's the only reason I do it. So it's this vicious cycle. Yeah. And I need to remember that they're the most important thing in my life. Yeah. Right. So that's exactly. Yeah. Now at the start, it was just, let's just see if it works. as I say, that transition to now, that is the purpose of me doing this business, is to provide for you guys.
Yeah.
Stability, safety, financial, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's the key to us. Don't get too into it.
Yeah.
So then, like you mentioned before, divorce, you mentioned all these things that come off the back of throwing yourself too far into something.
Yeah.
Again, what's the point?
Yeah.
If you do that. It's a big thing, right? So
yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest risks of running and building a business is finding that trade-off, right? How much sacrifice do you make before you've sacrificed your entire self?
Yeah.
There's only so far you can go before you're going home as a zombie, and therefore you are of no value to your wife or your kids. Like, they don't want to see a tired, disengaged, disconnected father. They want to see a happy, chatty dad, right?
You get back, you're trying to be the best of yourself with only 20% left in the tank.
Yeah.
Actually, you and your wife are seeing the worst of each other at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're at the bottom of your barrel.
Yeah.
And then you get that little snapshot with your kids. They get the rest of that energy. Then you and your wife are having issues.
Yeah.
That is one of the hardest parts to running a business for me is that family. And I don't want to make sacrifice on that side of it. I've realised that now.
Yeah.
It took me a while.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I thought the sacrifice was essential to provide for them. But not if it sends them the other way. So that's, for me, has been a really steep learning curve. Yeah,
and I think oftentimes people think providing for family is purely financial, right? But actually providing is providing yourself, right?
Yeah.
You, and with energy and with enthusiasm and with color and a smile on your face, color in your cheeks and a smile on your face, and being present. And it's very hard. It's very, very hard. And like you say, when you finish the day and you have that, you're on reserve battery mode, you can't have a good, constructive, nice, enjoyable conversation with your wife. Doesn't matter how hard you try. And trust me, I try most days, but she doesn't get that. And and I think you do have to continue to work to see it from their perspective and try and find that way of pushing forward without sacrificing your complete self. So, and again, it's something I haven't cracked, and my wife will definitely, vouch for that. But it's not for the lack of trying, and also now not for the lack of awareness either. And I think it's a really important topic. And again, the whole point of this podcast is to bring these challenges to the surface and help each other. Like, there's a very solid and growing community of entrepreneurs in Dubai. Some great businesses, some businesses that are growing rapidly, some that are growing nicely, and some that are shrinking. Again, they're the cycles, but the founders are all going on similar journeys. And this is the fascinating thing, on the podcast, is getting to learn from each other. You said earlier that you don't drink anymore. You don't drink alcohol anymore. Talk me through that.
Yeah. Always had a bad relationship with alcohol from a very, I'll say, young age. Yeah, we start drinking young in the UK. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
That's what you do for fun. You can't wait till you get the chance to actually go the off license and buy whatever it was you drink back then.
And get one over the guy behind the counter.
Bacardi Breezes. What was it? Standing outside, literally a gang of us standing outside with a tenner, asking people to buy us a crate or whatever. Ridiculous. And that's the culture you're growing up in.
Yeah.
And then it builds this, you need it to have the confidence to go and do whatever. So again, I'd had this bad relationship with it for years. And I only give up 100%. I've wanted to stop for about, I'll probably say since I've been in Dubai. If I'm truthful. I used to avoid going, answering the phone if the brunches the weekend, because I knew it would end up in chaos. I'm like 100% in if I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys. Like, you go out with me, we're out till the bitter end. And you probably won't want to speak to me again for another 2 weeks. That's what I was like. And that's how it's drilled into you in sales, by the way, as well. So not only just the culture in growing up in the UK, I don't know if you had the same sort of experience, but then going into university, going into the workplace. If you don't go, you get alienated. It's all about trying to fit in. And I spent so many years in my life trying to fit in and trying to keep up and whatever. And I didn't really want to do it.
Yeah.
So it took me so long. I was 39 on the weekend, just gone.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So it took me till, I think it was, when I went back to the UK last year, it was end of May, June. So I said, you know what, when I go back to the UK, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to stop. and just see how we get on.
Yep.
Because usually when I go back, it's like, right, let's all go out.
Yep.
I didn't do it. A month led to 2 to 3, and then before I knew it, it was Christmas.
Yep.
I was like, right, this is going to be difficult. I was back in the UK for Christmas. My wife's mum wasn't very well, so we had to go back. We don't usually go back, but it all was clear. It was great. Best Christmas we'd had because of the news we got on health. But then just continued it, because it wasn't just me having anxiety of what's happened from drinking. It's more as having an effect on my family as well.
Yep.
So I made the decision, that's it, I'm done. And I've never felt better about it. I don't miss it. I like being the weird guy on the boat party that speaking about business and not drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do feel like everyone thinks I judge them, which I don't.
Yeah.
I just couldn't handle alcohol for a long time. And it was normal to me. But now when you have a family, your mindset switches. It's not funny anymore.
No.
So I was kind of like going through that phase of over the past 10 years trying to reduce it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out a lot, like 2, 3 times a year, but it always caused issues.
Yeah.
Always caused issues. So I was like, right, done. And I think it's just over a year now. June. Yeah, so well over a year now.
Yeah, well over, yeah.
My wife's not a big drinker anyway. So that was gone, and it's had so many positive effects on my life.
I think there's definitely an attitude shift or change happening towards alcohol. I also don't drink, and for no other reason than I wear a Whoop, and I saw how much of a negative impact just one drink would have on your sleep and therefore your recovery. And that was it. I was done. I was like, I see the data, the evidence is clear, I'm out. My wife wasn't too happy about it. She enjoys a glass of wine. And again, I don't want to stop anyone from drinking. So I'm not advocating for people not to drink, but I am advocating for the science and the performance aspect. And if you want a good night's sleep, well, then the science is pretty clear. And if you want to perform, again, the data is pretty clear. So that's my personal take. Going back to your point around, UK culture and sales culture, absolutely, it's a massive part. And from an early age, I was very clearly not ever going to fit into that kind of drinking culture, and I was never a big drinker anyway. And I think all of my mates from back home would vouch for that. Going into university, playing in the football team, as big as the games on Wednesdays were at university, drinking Wednesday evenings was much bigger. So I'd play the football, but I wouldn't go out. And again, that kind of had a limiting effect, right? You could only achieve so much from a social perspective if you didn't drink. But from an early age, for me, it was not important. But for the majority of people, they can't not fit in. And I think you kind of get swept into this culture, and then it's very hard to get out. So I think it's credit to you for making that difficult decision in the role that you're in, the industry you're in, and the location that we're in, where it's everywhere. It is difficult, but it's very much rewarding when you make that decision.
Just to go on that point as well, as a business, I changed the dynamics of what we do socially as well.
Yep.
Which was some people happy about, some people weren't.
Yeah.
So we don't
can't please everyone.
Yeah. So I made the decision when I quit drinking, the company, I'm not going to be the spark for someone to be anxious coming on a Monday. So you can drink, but our events as a team, our socials, our celebrations are not going to be centered around drinking. You can have a drink, but that's not the whole purpose. Like when I started recruitment, we're going to the Weatherspoons straight away after work on a Friday. And that would ruin my whole weekend. And I'd come in on Monday thinking, did I really say that? That's how I would feel every single Monday.
Yeah.
Who did I say that? Oh, who did I say that? Yeah, just horrible. So I didn't want to be that for someone else.
Yeah.
I want to be a positive impact on my team. So some of them like it, some of them don't. But I'm sure they will thank me for it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something we really push. And that's why you see a lot of our networking events are based around active networking. So we do, obviously the run club I do, and we spoke about that every Wednesday. It's just a way of, networking can be quite awkward for people that are naturally introverted, which I am. Yeah. And I always
a lot of people are.
Yeah, I found it very like, you got your name tag, coffee, croissant, oh, hi, what's your name? Yeah. Like, it was always
Sorry,
a bit...
it's not normally a really shit coffee. It's normally a really dry croissant. The name tag's probably spelt wrong, and you'd rather be anywhere but that place.
Exactly that. So I was like, why, if again, I'm going to teach my team to have fun while they work. So Piers, my HR recruiter, he's an ex-tennis pro.
Yeah.
He does paddle tennis. That's his networking.
Yeah.
Clint, my legal recruiter, ex-pro rugby player for like 17 years. We did a touch rugby session for his legal session. I do the run club. So again, it's just you build a deeper connection without having to talk anything business.
Yeah.
You just sweat, fall over, have a laugh, have fun. Then you talk about it after it.
Yeah.
So that kind of came from the whole not drinking thing as well. And how do I find it easier to connect with people? And that's through doing activities. It's not for everyone. We still do the coffee and croissant stuff, but in a more of a casual setup. Like today I had 15, I think it was 12, 15 CFOs around the table, coffees and a few croissants chopped up, but just a very casual setting where we kind of just building relationships without trying to get anything from it. Okay, so we've got a big focus on active networking, communities, and support. Like again, business-wise, yes, I've got Calvin James Recruitment, but I've now set up Calvin James Community, which is a coaching community as well, because again, we'll get into the details of it probably later, but there's a need for the candidate side. The recruitment side is focused on the client. Client keeps the lights on, they pay the bills. The candidate's almost a commodity in that process a lot of the time in this market, because the UAE is the number one destination to be as an expat right now. It really is. If you look at the numbers, we're getting average 3,000-4,000 applications per job.
It's crazy.
And each one on my team have got maybe 10 or 15 jobs at any one time. So the numbers of volume of people coming in. So I've realised very early on in being in the UAE, there was an opportunity to create something for the candidate side, to give them a focus. So there's only so many calls I can make per day. So we do it all online. And I coach people all over the world on how to get a job in the UAE through raising visibility through their brand. Something I invested into my team. Previously, I got coached to do that, which then I translated it into, let me show the candidates that I can't place everybody. I wish I could. But there's a lot of people. If there's 5,000 applications, I'm probably speaking to 30 people through filters. And there's a lot of people that don't know how to do anything differently in a highly competitive market that need some guidance. And that's what it was for. So when I think about my journey as a founder, initially as a founder, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm just doing recruitment for myself. I work for myself. I feel like you only become an entrepreneur when you kind of see an opportunity and create something different. In my eyes, that's what it is. And I don't really like to call myself an entrepreneur, which I still just feel like I'm just a recruiter, which I am. But that's when I truly was like, right, that was exciting for me, because I've seen an opportunity to fill a need and create a solution to a problem, which I'd noticed very early on. And when I set it up, the last 12 months has been the most exciting time since I set up. Because it was new. It was different. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, and I think what you said earlier is that you didn't think very long about the Calvin James brand, right? I think arguably the correct statement there is you didn't think very long about the Calvin James company name, but the brand that you're now building is around community, is around, like you say, active networking. It's around helping people to better themselves, or apply those filter, or apply layers to their applications that get them through those filters, right? And like you said, you're creating something of value, and that is what an entrepreneur does, right? They create value that didn't previously exist. I'm the same. I don't like being called an entrepreneur, but in reality, that's what I am, I guess. I'm certainly a founder, or a builder, or whatever you want to call me. But yeah, it's about creating value, and I think that's the hardest part. Creating value also that people will pay for, agree to pay for, and then actually pay. Like we said earlier, like getting people to pay invoices is one of the hardest, challenges any business owner has, I think, even to today. So I think it's incredible the community that you've built and the brand that you've built with it, despite you perhaps thinking that you haven't invested too much or thought or money, whatever it might be. I think you've done a very good job, and
appreciate that.
You have created a a very different approach to an increasingly saturated, but also growing, or saturated market from a recruitment agency's perspective, but a growing market in terms of jobs and people moving here. Like migration continues to grow, right?
Yeah,
or net migration into Dubai continues to grow. So
Massively,
therefore there's got to be more jobs for those people to stay here. Otherwise they can't. You can't stay here without a job, or certainly not many people can afford to stay here without a job. So I think that, you know, the landscape is incredibly challenging, and therefore you have to create value, you have to create that that connection and that community. And I think, you know, what you're doing on the community side of things is fantastic. We said earlier that you struggle to celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum. What, in the last 6 years, what has been the biggest, deepest, darkest hole that you've been able to work through and pull yourself out of?
There's been quite a few. There's been quite a few, and it's ironically, it's down to recruitment of people for my business.
Right.
A lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, and it's still early, it was 6 years, not a long time in the grand scheme of things, but I would bend over backwards to make sure everyone's happy.
Yeah.
In the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give people a chance. I'd emotionally be attached to, you know, I want to help this person. I think I can really get them up to where they need to be. And I learned very quickly that recruiters can talk a good talk, but doing it is different. So there was a lot of people that sold me the dream. I invested a lot of time and energy into that, and then to be for nothing at the end of it. So I was kind of felt like I was on a treadmill with no end date, no end to the race a lot of the time. So that was really difficult. So hiring people, and I didn't like getting rid of people. I really didn't. It felt like almost like a breakup. Yeah. Because I'd invested so much time. I really wanted them to do well. If it wasn't working, I had to, this isn't working. Yeah. We need to, it's, you know, it's best for you and me. Yeah. So it's
horrible, isn't it? Like firing people never gets enjoyable.
There's been a lot of that issue, because I'm kind of like, with my, again, I'm not a perfect founder or a leader in the business. I've got faults, and me just expecting people to be like me is my biggest fault. Mm-hmm. So being able to manage different personalities was something that really took time to learn. Yep. And actually having a smaller team, which is all aligned, mindset, drive, trust, is way more satisfying than having a team of 3 times the size, where we're not getting any camaraderie. Yeah. We're not getting any drive. It's stressful. And I realized actually scaling the team, we haven't got a massive team. We got up to like 9 people, and then we dropped down to 5. So we've got a team of 5 now. Yeah. And we've kind of, this is like the 3rd time I've kind of restructured the model. Yeah. So my guys, the ones that have done well, commission only. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's not many companies that do that on recruitment. Yeah. But that's why I want people like with my mindset that need to get up, do the job as well as possible, and they get paid on every single deal. And they got that motivation to do it. Yeah. They don't need a safety net. In sales, in general, salaries are an illusion. Mm. If you're not making more than your salary, then you're gone. Yeah. And if you are, why do you need it? Yeah. If you get what I mean. So it's that commission-based model that we set up is why the real estate guys worked really well. So I've gone from having commission only, which was great, and then how do I scale? Everyone's telling me you need to pay salaries. I'm listening to other people. This is getting advice. So then I bring 3 people in on salaries, completely different mindset. All relocations from the UK. None of them worked out for different reasons. Yeah. Like, wow, that was an expensive mistake. Yeah. Now I need to pivot back. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get only commission-only people. So we're back to where we were before. Yeah. But now I'm building an offshore team. Right. So we're going to have a smaller team here on the ground, really good top people to BD, to build the relationships. But then give each one of them more bandwidth by having a team in the Philippines, all from recruitment backgrounds, to help give them more bandwidth on the volume. Yep. So that's the next transition. So to answer your question on the dark days, it's a bit of like, I got to a point where it's like, how can I not bring the right person in the team? I'm spending so much energy with these people. Yeah. I'm now taking myself away from doing my job properly because
Yeah.
I'm trying to get these people up to speed. But when it fails, it's like really having an impact on me
Yeah.
because I'm emotionally invested.
Of course.
So the darkest days were just times like when I really thought and wanted this person to work out, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So again, but through that, you have to go through that, I think, in my game to learn what your company's about,
Yeah.
what the culture is. Because again, we're going from scratch.
Yeah.
And when we did the whole remote thing, COVID kind of set that up.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We're lean. We don't need an office, but we weren't building a culture.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own little silo. So
Yeah.
again, I went, right, that's why I was like, right, we're going to get an office. We've got one in JLT, fitted it out. Let's go in the office full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to the point where I was like, actually, no, I don't want everyone to be in full time.
Yeah.
We're wasting too much time coming in.
Yeah.
So it's just that back and forward,
Yeah.
that not knowing of what's the right answer. You just
Yeah.
trial and error.
Yeah.
Your emotions like that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
No one sees that on the outside.
Of course. Yeah.
And
It's
they
all
just
internal.
think it's just
yeah.
like, yeah, so I'm like having
Yeah.
to turn up
Yeah.
on point every day,
Yeah.
motivate the team. Inside, I'm like, some days I didn't want to be there.
What am I doing?
Yeah, I'm like, right, how's this going to, like, honestly, there's points where I was like, if I lose this person, my business is going to shut down.
Mm.
But then you just keep pushing. You can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
That's what kind of, I got in my head, like, too much. I can't control everything.
Mm.
So I wasn't, even my downtime, I was worrying about certain things.
Yeah.
So once I get let go of that,
Yeah.
it became a lot easier to just manage the downturn,
Yeah.
the down cycles, because they'll keep coming.
Yeah, and
they
coming
do.
and coming and coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's one
yeah.
around every corner. Yeah, I think particularly with people, you know, it's both the most rewarding and most challenging part of growing any business.
Yeah.
But particularly when it doesn't work out, arriving at that decision is one thing, and then executing that decision is another. And oftentimes they don't happen, you know, back to back. You think it, oh no, one more chance, or give it another week, give it another month, and you know, I cannot remember an instance where I've told myself, oh no, give them another week, give them another month, give them another quarter, and it will work itself out. No, the problem's just that hole has gotten deeper. You know, your gut and your intuition count for an awful lot as the business owner or the founder, right? Because only you know where you want it to be or what it's capable of being. And if a person is not pushing you in that direction, but actually pulling you in a different direction, that's it. You got to make that decision. And that's still something that is a development opportunity, as one of my old coaches would call it. You know, I don't think it's a weak spot anymore because I've gotten better at it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I can still improving on. And again, you know, people-related challenge. I mean, business is ultimately people, right? Without people, you haven't really got a business, right? You're a freelancer if there's no one else involved. So yeah, those, you know, humans are by their very nature complex beings, and when you have 5 of them or 9 of them or 90 of them, you're dealing with 5, 9 or 90 complex challenges all at the same time. So yeah, it's very, very tough. Coming to the end here, first of all, let's quickly touch on the Dubai market. We talked earlier about, you know, it's the number one kind of expat destination, economy, whatever you want to frame it. What do you think, you know, as we head into 2025, what does 2025 look like for you, for the business, and also, you know, the market from a recruitment and job market perspective?
Yeah, the job market is, it's always, the way I describe it, it's very steady with regards to, dependent on what market you're in. You know, I always say, you know, the market's what you make of it. So even if you don't have that growth in new businesses coming in, there's always a transient people coming and going.
Yeah.
So recruitment, there's always a need there, depending on your relationships you got with it there. But what I'm seeing more of now is companies from the UK looking to set up here. So I've had 3 in the past month that have reached out to me that want to set up operations here, whether it's due to the tax situation there, obviously increasing. I think corporation tax has jumped up quite a bit. So there's a lot of companies looking to set up here for tax purposes.
Yep.
So that's one thing I'm seeing a lot of. There's a massive influx of people coming out for a better lifestyle.
Yep.
So again, we're never
Don't
short
blame
on
them.
candidates.
Yeah,
You know, you don't blame them. It's, you know, we're never short on candidates, but again, what we're seeing is the cost of living is shot up.
Mm.
It's really shot up. So the salaries aren't keeping up with that.
Yeah.
So it's a different proposition to what it was when we moved out.
Yeah.
To what it is now with that cost of living gap to the salaries not keeping up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that side of it, although there's a big push for people to get out here, I think we're finding it harder to close people on the actual salaries on offer.
Yeah.
And it's not the big golden ticket it used to be.
No. Yeah.
Because it's not, you don't need to pay a premium to get people here. It's not a hardship
People
move anymore.
want to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And companies know that.
Yeah.
Saudi's even catching up now with that.
Yeah.
Saudi used to be the hardship move, and that's kind of leveling off as
Yeah.
well. So it's the dynamics are changing. There's still a lot of investment coming in. Abu Dhabi, you can see what's going on there. Saudi's a big one. So there's always going to be the volume.
Yeah.
Always things going on. The location of where it is it's going to be one of the main business hubs globally, which
Yeah.
is why we're seeing the numbers.
Yeah.
So again, we're really positive about the outlook for 2025 as an agency.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that things are changing from a job searcher side.
Yep.
Again, when I talk about the community I've set up, I mean, any advice to job searchers right now is work on your brand, your online brand and visibility. The benefit from being in a really highly competitive market like the UAE is right now, which is there's nowhere else like it because the numbers, is you have to innovate to stand out.
Yep.
Whereas in where you're from, everywhere else, the UK where I know, people don't touch LinkedIn. They've got the CV. CV is so inefficient. How does that tell you that person is the right fit for you? That they're most of it's probably AI'd now to make it look like they're good for the job anyway. So your LinkedIn should be seen as an online website for you, not just skill set. It's career history and it's personality.
Yep.
People are too scared to post about themselves.
Yeah.
They're thinking about, oh, what's that person going to think about this? No, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Build an online
Give
brand.
them something to think about.
So what we're coaching on and where I see the future of the job search going is through your brand.
Yep.
And your LinkedIn is picked up before your CV. So again, anyone that's in that motion of trying to get out here now as well is really focus on your LinkedIn. Optimize it. Again, I run a webinar bi-weekly on, it's a bit of a mouthful, the UAE Job Searcher Career Elevation Masterclass, which is a part of my community. So it's something, if anyone wants to join that, I'll obviously send a link out to them as well. But where I see, if you're going to be successful in getting that move over to change your lifestyle, whatever, safety, money, career growth, work on your brand on that side. That's where I think the big shift will be in the recruitment side of it. Whereas candidates won't be as reliant on the agencies. So the agencies now need to differentiate themselves as well and step up their game. Relationships, communities, networking is key.
And like you said, that forced innovation, right? The market that we're in, if you don't innovate, if you sit still and rest on your laurels, then someone else will come in and do it differently or better.
Exactly
or,
that.
Create more value.
Yeah.
So as we close out today's discussion, and thank you for your time and for going with me in the various directions that the conversation has gone. As an entrepreneur, as a founder, what would be the recruiter first and foremost, father and husband as well. What are the three kind of main insights that you would share with the listeners in terms of building your business that perhaps you didn't think about going into building a business? Like what are those three things that you would say, these are three things you should think about or be aware of for someone who might be thinking of going out on their own, whether that's a recruitment business or a technology business or anything else?
Good question. I would say being aware of where your passions lie. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's going to be 10 times harder to be successful in it, for one. My second one is kind of don't overthink it. People tend to want the perfect plan. I didn't have a business plan. I just literally went out and went this way. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but don't overthink something that you can naturally do, unless you're creating something new.
Yeah.
If you don't overthink all these elements of, okay, the business plan needs to be right, have I got the right money? Just go with it. If you see the opportunity, my advice is just give it a go.
Yep.
Worst case, you go back to where you were before. That's my second one. Third one would be, good question. It's always good to have a kind of a goal, I would say, of, all right, where do we want to get to? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
That's something I didn't have. And I wish I would have had more of a purpose back then. There's a fourth one I'm going to say as well, but the purpose behind, okay, where do I want to get to and how I'm going to get there is key. I was just kind of let's go with it, let's see what happens. And then I created my purpose along the way. And then the fourth one is what I'm going to say is start growing your personal brand straight away.
Yeah.
Because if I would have started that 6 years ago, who knows where I would have been now? Because it's only the past 3 years I've been doing it.
Yeah.
And it's had a massive impact on my business.
Yeah.
With over 10 million views in the last 12 months on our post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So the fourth would be brand. Sneaker. Squeeze a fourth one in. No matter what you do, raise your visibility, talk about it. You never know who that's going to open you up to. That would be my fourth, even though you didn't ask for it.
No. Bonus one. Well, no, thank you. Like I said, thank you for coming on. I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most, we've only been connected a short time, and I think the beauty of Dubai is that we bumped into each other in a coffee shop, right? And we recognized each other from LinkedIn.
Exactly
so
that,
you know, that kind of speaks to the power of LinkedIn and what you're saying. And I really appreciate how you are honest, how you are practicing what you preach. You know, you're telling job seekers that they need to elevate their personal brand whilst you're doing the same yourself. And that doesn't happen very often. You know, most of the time, particularly in recruitment, it's, you know, you're told one thing and then you look at the recruitment agent or whatever, and you're like, well, hang on a minute, like, you're telling me improve my LinkedIn, but look at yours. Like, when was your photo taken, or when was the last time you posted any original content? So, you know, I appreciate the authenticity and the honesty that you bring to Dubai and the LinkedIn community, and all of those that you're supporting through the community, and also the wellness angle that you're taking. And obviously that's a very topic close to my heart, but not because, you know, not for any other reason than it fundamentally improves, you know, business and the life for those that are involved in that community. So I think it's brilliant what you're doing, and I wish you nothing but success in 2025, and very much look forward to continue watching the Calvin James journey.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.